It's true, isn't it, of the hero's journey, is that there's always that place where you're questioning, going, you can't really see completely. You're trusting that it's going to keep going to the end, even though you can't see specifically every part of it, but it's that ability to just go, I'm going forward.
That's how the information's come to me. Most amazing things have happened to me when information has just been there, exactly on a subject that I'm focusing on at that time, where if you let your head rule, they'd say, oh, you don't do that, you go there. And what happens in the end, I've found, is there comes a point where the head has seen enough experiences of following your intuition, there it is, you can't do that, but then because of that, going with your intuition, it leads to a series of events that, and there might be challenges there when the head's going, I told you so, but actually a few notches down the road, you see that it's all worked out, not despite that, but because of it. And your head starts to, your mind starts to observe this, and it goes, hold on a second, when you follow this, it might lead you into some scrapes and challenges because it's seeing reality in a completely different way. Therefore, it's judging experience and what you need to do in a different way. But it all works out in the end. And what happens is this: your conscious mind and your intuition come together. And I've reached a point in my life now, for some time, where my intuition says, "Go there," and my head goes, "Okay." There's no division, there's no argument, it's I'm going.
Isn't it true, too, of any creative process, that you have to be willing to open wide, to something that is far beyond the conscious mind and the reasoning mind, and allow that to just come in and inform you and take you along the way and carry you in some sense?
We have two hemispheres of the brain. One is like it processes reality as a sequence, which is what gives us the illusion of time. It processes things as apart from everything else, and it's into language and all this stuff. The right side of the brain is the creative, the artist, the maverick, the unique spin on life, because it's connecting us out to a higher level of awareness. And we live in a left brain world. And it has been specifically structured, and I explain when I talk how it's done in detail, to be planted in the left side of the brain from the earliest age. And we call it the education system, which is actually the indoctrination system. What happens in the education system is young children, right the way through their school years and up into university and college, are given overwhelmingly left brain information. They're told to remember it and then repeat it onto exam papers. And when people do that really well, they progress within the system. You get rewarded for being programmed like that. And then they decide on their specialization. It might be medicine or science, even politics or whatever. And they go through the next stage, like their scientific exams, the medical exams and all that stuff. Or they might be going to academia and going to higher levels of examinations to progress in academia. And it's all left brain information. And if you are very good at this stuff, then you might end up running these institutions of medicine and science or politics, by which time you are a fully blown left brain prisoner. You notice how the artistic things in schools and colleges, like art and music, the things that get you out there, move you creatively, they're all minor to the academia.
They've been getting cut more and more. It seems
exactly
like a lot of the creative and arts programs that help develop that full brain thinking.
Exactly.
Whole brain
thinking.
So you're advocating for people to really find and express their own really deep
uniqueness,
power.
Uniqueness,
to stand
power. You see, everyone being one infinite consciousness is not. People think, well, if you're talking about being one consciousness, then we're all going to be clones, aren't we? What is that consciousness? That consciousness is all possibility, all that has been can be and ever will be. So expressing uniqueness is expressing and glory in the all possibility that we are, all of us. And what any controller, dictator, suppressor has to do, because it can't cope with people in that state or even close to that state. So it has to suppress and make uniform the way people think, the way people see themselves, the way people see the world. You take these things that are supposed to be like polarities, communism, fascism. They're not polarities, they're the same thing. Why? Because it's centralization of power in the hands of the few over the many. And what do both want? Uniformity. What is globalization? Uniformity. You go around the world, the uniformity, you can see it coming all the time. And uniformity is a few possibilities within all possibility. So I'm saying that the deepest, most prime level of human state, human awareness, is silent, still, all possibility. Because people think, you know, if I stop talking and I say, what did you hear? They'd say, nothing. And yet within that silence is everything. It's all possibility. And when I start talking, I'm pulling one possibility out of all possibility. And when I stop talking, it goes back again. And so that's the prime level. And that's everything connected to everything else. And then when you come into the realm of what you might call creation, form, that's holographic. It's the illusion of physicality. It's the illusion of three dimensions, if you want it, three-dimensional states, if you like. But it's still all connected. Because one of the amazing, unique characteristics of a hologram is that every part of the hologram is a smaller version of the whole. If you cut up a holographic print into 4 and fire the laser at one of them, you're not going to get a quarter-size version of the whole picture or a quarter part of the whole picture. You're going to get a quarter-size version of the whole picture. Not a piece of it, as you would think, because it doesn't work like that with holograms. And so look...
The whole is implicit in each tiny part of the
Exactly.
whole.
No matter what expression it takes, everything is always part of the whole. And the world and reality is far more amazing than most people even realize. And we need to lose the idea that we live in a physical world. What we're looking at here only exists in here.
Well,
only exists in here because we're decoding it. Right. You know, in the Matrix movie where Neo says this isn't real, and Morpheus says, well, words to the effect of, what is real? If you're talking about what you can see, touch, taste, etc., then real is only electrical signals interpreted by your brain. Exactly. And on Saturday in San Rafael, and in my books, I explain this in great detail. It is so simple. Complexity hides the simple genius behind it all. You know, it just shows you, if you keep going and you do what you know to be right, and you don't let any amount of challenge and ridicule and all this other stuff stop you walking, it's amazing what can manifest. But if you give up, of course, or feel sorry for yourself, how can it manifest? It can't.
So you would advise people that if they get the call to go on that hero's journey, and they become afraid that they're going to have too many challenges and that road of trials, and that starts to scare them, that they should listen to the message you're giving, which is that it's worth it. You can go through, you'll come back up, and you'll come back up with the gifts gained from having done that journey through the underworld.
Yeah, and you do go down to some dark places. And sometimes you have to. If you're trying to change energy, if you sit cross-legged on the mountain above it all, what are you going to change? The idea that you have to live this life of from this reality perfection to do what you do. I mean, often that's the last thing you need to do from the perspective of this world. But actually, it is perfection, because it's what you need to do what you've come to do. It's just that your consciousness is seeing that you need to do that, whereas your conscious mind is seeing it a different way. But like I said, fortunately, my head and my heart speak the same language these days, and it's a much easier place to be. And also, you know, it's easier to go through this now because so many more people have been through it, this transition, this transformation, that where people went through it thinking, what's going on? You know, now the tools are there and the experience of others is there to say, just relax, this is what's going on and it's all going to be fine.
So it must be nice, though, after having gone through this for 20 years, you've been on this journey for 20 years.
I have.
To have some
and I look like it, don't I?
To have
You wouldn't think I was 25, would you?
to have some sense of really being in a good place with it.
I'm in a great space. You know, there are always people trying to bring you down, always people trying to exploit you and live off your back and all this stuff. And you have to deal with them, and you'd rather not, you didn't have to. But they are like flies on an elephant's back compared with the joy of doing it. And when you go to an event like New York last Saturday, and you see the energy there, you see the faces, you see the, yes, I can do it. I'm not a slave anymore. I'm not Joe Public. I am something greater. You walk off the stage and you go, hey, what other job, what other thing would I like to do with my life apart from that? Nothing, thank you very much, challenges or not.
So that's what brings you bliss.
You know,
Yeah.
it's fantastic, yeah. All you've done, this is the important point, is just helped people remember. I'm not telling people anything they don't already know. And that's why it can be so powerful, because you know, when, say you I don't know, you go to the beach years ago with a group of people, and years later you meet one of them and you say, oh, do you remember when we went to the beach that day? And they go, no, I don't remember that. No, you know, and then you give them one trigger, and it's like, do you remember so-and-so, he was on that horse and he'd had a few and he fell off on the sand. Oh, yes. From that moment, that person who couldn't remember the event can now reel off all the details of it. Why? Because that memory's been opened. And that's what this information is doing. It's opening the memory of all of us to what we already know, but have been mercilessly manipulated to forget.
And do you have a copy of your book here with you? This is the cover of your
There
book.
it is, yeah, that's the one.
There's...
And I've got a great friend, Neil Haig, is an artist friend of mine. I've known him for a long time, like about the last 17 years. And we have this telepathic kind of connection that I tell him what I'm seeing and he paints it. And he's got very creative. He does a lot of his own creativity from his own self too. But I had that image in my mind, and I said, I want a male lion. I want the world painted on it, and I want eyes, specifically the eyes. The eyes have to be right. The eyes have to be saying, don't mess with me. And it was about the real humanity emerging from the sheep-lamb humanity, using symbolism. And that title, Human Race Get Off Your Knees, The Lion Sleeps No More, has really resonated with a lot of people. Not just, yeah, I've got to get up off my knees, but the realization for many people from that phrase, do you know, I am on my knees, aren't I? Aren't I? I think I'm free. Am I free? No, I have to get up in the morning, I have to get in my car, I've got a traffic jam at the same time, and I go to work, and I can't leave until they decide that I can leave, otherwise I'll get the sack or whatever. Then I'll get in the traffic jam going home. My kids leave home in the morning, they have to go at a certain time. They can't leave school all day, they're in prison just like me. And then they come home and they have homework to do because the teacher said you got to, and there'll be trouble if they don't. What are we doing? We're infinite consciousness, all that has been, ever will be. And that's our life. And that is the first step. That's the acknowledgement you are a slave, Neil. And then you take the pill and bingo, I ain't having it anymore. Come on, let's go, let's go.
Thank you so very much. It was a pleasure to meet you
Oh,
today.
you too, Ashley.
Just a
Thank you very
pleasure.
much.
Thank you for coming.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.